I know what you're thinking. What? Herps and DoD? How does that work, right? So that's what I'm here to talk to you guys about. It's a real pleasure to be speaking with you today. Thank you for the invitation. And I'm here to talk about the Department of Defense Partners in Amphibian and Reptile Conservation Network. So just a quick brief overview for the Department of Defense. It's comprised of 4 military services: the Army, Navy, Marine Corps, and Air Force. You know, we manage around 27 million acres of land in 50 states and U.S. territories, and you're thinking, wow, that's a lot of acres, but it's actually on the low side compared to other federal service owns and manages about 100 million acres more than we do. And then if you start talking about Bureau of Land Management, that's like 200,000 200,000 acres more. So I mean, they manage much more acres than we do. So we're kind of on the small side, but some recent studies, well, not too recent, but some studies have shown that Department of Defense lands are really high quality, and they have the high density of endangered species and imperiled species. So what is DoD Park? It was formed in 2009 due to a growing number of species that are, becoming federally and state listed. And the purpose of the network is really to provide some leadership and guidance and technical support for the conservation and management on DoD lands. And we were sort of modeled off of the DoD PIF group, the Partners in Flight group, which was kind of established about 10 years before we were. This is our mission statement. So in support of military readiness, DoD Park strives to sustain amphibian and reptiles populations and habitats through proactive environmental stewardship, conservation outreach, and partnership. So that's our mission statement. So who is DoD Park? Well, it's a lot of people. Ryan Orndorff is our network manager. He is at the Office of the Secretary of Defense. We're like really high up there in the Pentagon sort of level. We get funding every year from the DoD Legacy Program. We have representation on our steering committee from all members of the military services. Myself and my colleague, Rob Lovich, we both work for the Navy, and we are the national representatives, and we've been with the group from the very start. We were handpicked to form this group and to lead it up and to keep it going. That was weird. Just changed sound. We have about 14 people on our steering committee that help us with the day-to-day activities and things like that. And then we have 500 network members that, we share information with and form projects with and everything. And listen, everybody in this room could be a DoD Park network member. All you have to do is just shoot me an email. At the end of the presentation, you'll see my email address. It's open for everybody, so you don't feel like you're excluded in any way. It's open for everything. So I'm so glad Carrie was here earlier to explain the National Park Network, and we are definitely a part of that group, a big part. We're considered like a region. There's 5 regions of park. We're sort of like a region, even though we span all across the U.S. We are a voting member on the Joint National Steering Committee for Park, and we're kind of nested in that with about 11 other federal agencies on what they call the FAST, the Federal Agency Steering Committee. So when you work for the military, you have to tie everything that you do back to the military mission. That's a requirement. So this is how we justify what we do to our senior leadership. What we do enhances military readiness by promoting healthy landscapes. That makes sense, right? We proactively manage for at-risk species and their habitats, and with the goal here of preventing new Wildlife Service, because listing decisions impact how the military, when and what we can do on our lands. Okay, so that's really, really, really important. And then, providing that expertise that we do increases the effectiveness of resource management on DoD lands by developing all these really cool proactive science-based conservation tools and strategies, which I'll be talking about here shortly. That picture, by the way, that's in Guantanamo Bay. That's a Cuban boa. We've been radio tracking Cuban boas down in Guantanamo Bay. So the rest of the presentation is kind of just to highlight some of our tools and products and initiatives over the last 15 years. So I'll be going through these quickly. And now everything I'm going to talk about today is on our website, which is at the end of the presentation, along with my email address. So you can access all this stuff. It's all for free. It's all publicly available. So one of the first things that we started working on after we formed was we have to have a strategic plan. You know, what is your plan for managing reptiles and amphibians on DoD lands? Well, you know, writing the document wasn't too tough. It wasn't too technical. The greatest challenge was getting everybody on board, getting consensus. We at one point got a letter of non-concurrence from the Army because they did not agree with what we were doing and thought this was going to be a quote unquote unfunded requirement. So there were some challenges to overcome there, but we did. We finally pushed through. We were the first federal agency to have a strategic plan to manage amphibians and reptiles on DoD lands. Now that's pretty darn cool. Bureau of Land Management has one now, but DoD was the first. So this kind of lays the foundation for all that we do in the DoD Park Network. And then several years after that, we noticed that, like, you know, military commanders, they're very transient. They're moving around from one base to another. They're, you know, every couple of years. And so we developed this commander's guide to DoD Park, which kind of, you know, portrayed to them why herps are important, why they should care about them, and why they should support the work that we're doing. And both the strategic plan and this commander guides, there's free copies out in the other room here. So feel free to take one home and look them over. So DoD Park is all about partnerships. And over the last 15 years, oh my gosh, we've partnered with so many folks, so many great organizations: California Academy of Sciences, the Smithsonian, the Orion Society, universities like the University of Illinois. I mean, the list goes on and on. If we don't have that expertise in-house, we go, you know, we find it elsewhere. And it's just been, that's one of the best parts about working in DoD Park, is all the great people we get to work with over the years. And a lot of it has been very focused on preventing at-risk species from becoming federally listed. So disease surveillance is been a huge part of what we've been doing. We did 3 transcontinental surveys for BD. We sampled, you know, almost 1,500 collected 1,500 samples from 65 different species. On the top right there, we did that. That was the very first study. Dr. Joe Mitchell, many of who you guys knew, was very part of this society here. He drove across the country 3 times in 1 year from Virginia to California, sampling along 15 or 16 bases there. We called that "Do Frogs Get Their Kicks on Route 66?" And we got that published in the Public Library of Science there. So we got some really good publications out of this work. And those are all available online, and I encourage you guys to check that out. And then just with the last presentation we heard, we've done a lot of snake fungal disease surveys, so sampling for OO. We've done this in 2018 and 2020. We've sampled at about 139 installations, collected a lot of samples on 40-some species. And we were the very first to detect OO in New Mexico, Idaho, Oklahoma, and Puerto Rico. So that was kind of neat. We have a YouTube channel, and we have these little cool species profile videos that we put on there. They're about 5, maybe up to 10-minute videos, just, talking about these various species. You can see they're very common species. We're trying to educate the military community about the species that live on the lands where they work and live. And so check it out. We've had over 50,000 views on these videos. So, they're really fun. They're kind of interactive. We have like video from a snake or an animal actually on the military site. So check them out. They're a lot of fun to do. I'm working on one now on the Mediterranean chameleon. We used to also do podcasts. We focus on military sites that are doing exceptional, herpetology work. Like we focus 2 on Eglin Air Force Base. They're doing this huge gopher tortoise recovery project, and also great work with the reticulated flatwood salamander down there where they're head starting that species. The last podcast was all about the the diamondback terrapin work at Pax River, yeah, check them out. They're on our YouTube channel, which is you'll see the address at the end of the presentation. But they're short, maybe 5-10 minutes, but they kind of just highlight the great work that's going on. So we have been super focused on, we wanted to know, like, what is the herp community on DoD lands? We wanted to do like an audit of the herps on DoD land. So very early on in 2013, we started to compile the species lists or develop brand new ones from military sites on the ones that have like quote unquote significant natural resources, and there's about 320 of them. And we started building up this database, and we had just incredible knowledge of the herps on there. I can tell you what the most common species are, what's the least common, which are endangered, which are invasive, which are non-native. I mean, we have incredible diversity, and we published these results in Herpetofauna Conservation and Biology in 2018. And here's just some very preliminary high-level results. One of the most interesting things I thought was 66% of all the native herps in the entire U.S. are found on DoD lands. So, you know, high diversity there. I mean, that's pretty neat. Army lands have the most species. You can see on that chart there, the blue are species that are confirmed. They have about 320, I think that is. Snakes are the most widespread group on military lands. We had about 50% of the military sites have at least one venomous snake species. So education of venomous species is important. And then lastly, about 41% of the military sites contained at least one federally listed endangered species, herp species. Now, to help keep our database up to date, we have this great relationship with the Herp Mapper folks. Now, Herp Mapper is an applet that runs on your phone, and you can document a herp. And, you know, goes into their database, and you can keep track of your records. They allow us to see all their records, all, you know, many hundreds of thousands of records that they have in their system. Anything that gets entered on a military sites, we get to see firsthand. We get to see, you know, the exact lat long, but in the general public, it gets blurred to the county level. So we use this every single year, and we promote the use of Herp Mapper to encourage our folks to, you know, enter the observations, and then I go back and collect those every year and then update our database. They've been really, really great to work with. Another way of keeping our data up to date, which has been a lot of fun, is doing these acoustic loggers. We call them frog loggers. They're wildlife acoustic units. We have about 25 of them, and we loan them out to military sites across the country every single year. You know, they call us the colon guard of acoustic recorders because, you know, I ship them out, they set them up, and then they ship them back to me, and I analyze the data, and, you know, everybody's happy. But, you know, it's great for the installations because they don't have to purchase these units, which can be up to $500, $600, $700. They don't have to analyze the data. They just have to go out and set it up in the woods next to a wetland and send it back to me, and I analyze the data for them. And so it helps gather information for their installation, and also puts information in our hands to keep our database up to date. Educating and outreach is huge in what we do. And the presentations we do at Fleet Week and Earth Day, and we've devised 45 fact sheets. We've done venomous snake training modules, and we've done videos. These are all on our YouTube channel, the venomous snake safety and removal techniques, snakes and safety on continental U.S. military. And so all these things, just great. Educating the military about, you know, all the herp diversity on the places where they live and work. We even have a coloring book, and there's free copies out in the other room here. This was a lot of fun to make. We did all the writing of it in-house. It kind of focuses on our at-risk species, our mission-sensitive species. But oh my gosh, this was so much fun to do. Hired a graphic illustrator to do all the cool pictures and stuff, and it just came out so well. We've handed out probably 3,000 copies of these over the years. We do a lot of field work, which is fun. I love field work. And this kind of highlights some of the work we've done in Virginia over the last couple of years. We were doing a lot of surveys in Quantico, Naval Weapons Station Yorktown, the Northwest Annex down in Chesapeake. We've done some spotted turtle surveys, and in the past, we've done a ton of timber rattlesnake radio tracking. You guys may be familiar with that project. And then just this year, I was doing herp surveys at Joint Expeditionary Base Little Creek in Virginia Beach. And then, you know, we've been focusing on spreading out as well into other states, focusing in on DoD mission-sensitive species, and you can see a list of sites that we've hit there recently. And then, like every year, we get together, our leadership gets together on a military base, and not only do we, discuss, what projects we're going to be working on that upcoming year and whatnot, but we also do a HERP blitz. And here's somewhere we've been over the last couple of years, and that has been a lot of fun as well. So we get to travel around the country and see what herps are on these other installations and help them, because they're not experts in herps in many cases. So we help to supplement their herp species list. Okay, these are the most important species that DoD is concerned about right now. This is what we call our mission sensitive species. Now, these are at-risk species. There have been some listing decisions already about some of these species, like the alligator snapping turtle was warranted for federal listing. Which one? The Western pond turtle, sorry, was also determined warranted for listing. But these are the most species that we're concerned about right now. And this is what we're doing about it. We develop best management practices for all 11 of those species. We've done some species profile videos. We've done surveys for spotted turtles. So, we're taking the funding that we get from the legacy program. We're working with our partners. We're getting information about these species on our lands and helping to form partnerships to preclude listing. If you're interested in getting a DoD Park T-shirt, we're on thread list, so check it out if you want to. Get a shirt or something with our logo on it. That's fun. And so here's my email. If you're interested, if you want to be on our listserv, just go ahead and shoot me an email. The top website there on Denix, that's where you will find all the stuff I talked about today and then much more, and our YouTube channel. And, I'd like to say we're just super proud of what we do to support our military and herp conservation. We are on the tip of the spear when it comes to everything herp related on DoD properties, and I thank you very much. This picture is actually, this was not staged. There's a sniper back there. Do you see that? That was on Eglin Air Force Base.